this week's NFL Week 15 2017 rundown is the New England Patriots versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, with the Patriots coming out on top. And it looks like it was an important game. It was a game of two very powerful teams presently in the NFL, and now they have the same record with the Patriots win. So again, I guess looking at the Cowboys-Raiders game and this game, you have a very similar one, differentiated by a field goal. Do you think they played out similarly in, statistically very similar? Were there any issues with the ref, or was this, even though looking at the score, similar game, was it different in some of its subtleties?
Actually, too, is that at the end of the game, they had the controversial call over Jesse James' catch.
Okay.
So they didn't know if it was a catch or not, and it turned out to not be a catch. And they're showing replay over time, but the way how they did it, it was clearly proven when he crossed the end zone, the ball was touching the end zone. His hands wasn't under the ball.
Okay.
And his hands, so it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
The football was right between his hands.
Yeah.
And that's touching the ground, and that's an incomplete pass. So I think the ref made the right call in this one. And I think, too, is that Ben Roethlisberger, making a dumb decision. He fake spiked the ball and threw it to a guy who's a second-year receiver. Is in his second year, and he obviously doesn't know what to do in this situation. So he was lucky that he actually ran a route, because most receivers would have just stayed on the line of scrimmage because it looked like he spiked the ball. He changed the play during the middle of the play.
Oh, okay.
It got intercepted. It got bounced around the air, intercepted by the Patriots.
Yeah,
that's game over.
Yeah, that's Ben Roethlisberger's backyard football style of play sometimes.
Absolutely, and
especially in those big moments.
I think the rookie was unsure what to do. He ran a slant. He threw it. It wasn't a great throw. And I think that Ben Roethlisberger needs to be selfless in this situation. Just spike the ball, either score a touchdown or just take the field goal and go into overtime. I think the thing that was bad was a late game management by the team. That's why they lost the game. And that should concern you, because the defense didn't play great this game. Obviously, the loss of Ryan Shazier is continuing to be a key factor for that defense, too. And Ben Roethlisberger needs to have big games if he wants to be a good team going to the playoffs, because he's going to have a hard time, backing. If your quarterback has a hard time backing out the Steelers' defense currently, you're not going to win a lot of games, because their defense just isn't good enough. Obviously, they got destroyed by Rob Gronkowski. You could feel it. They put him against a second-year safety in Sean Davis. And they just got absolutely dominated by Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady. But I think that, too, was the good thing about the Steelers' defensive line. They're really good. I think they lead the league in sacks, their whole defensive line. So they were able to get some hits on Tom Brady. And he actually turned the ball over when they put some hits on Tom Brady. It was an interception he had. So I really think that it came down to late game situations for that team, for the Steelers.
How do you think it plays out moving forward between those two teams?
I think they're both going to be really good teams going into the playoffs. I think obviously the Patriots are probably going to be the number 1 seed.
Right.
The Steelers are going to get number 2 seed, so they're both going to have a bye week. I think the thing that you still need to pay attention is the Steelers' defense. The offense is probably going to score a lot of points going further against playoff teams.
It would be them in the NFC Championship, right?
AFC Championship.
AFC,
if they make it that far, but I think that there's definitely a whole showing on that Steelers team, and Antonio Brown is going to be out for the rest of the year with some calf injury.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to come back for the playoffs, though. So that's good news for the Steelers. They will get him when they need it, because these next 2 weeks are probably going to be meaningless games,
right?
But games they want to win to keep their playoff hopes
absolutely
alive.
Yeah, just to keep the momentum going.
Oh, absolutely,
and to avenge the loss of the Patriots.
Absolutely, and I think Tom Brady. I think they're just going to get the number 1. The Patriots are going to get the number 1 seed. They're just looking really hot right now. And Tom Brady's looking really good. And when a team or a player is looking really good late in the season, that has some good news for the playoffs coming up too.
Are there any injuries on the Patriots squad that are notable that would impact the playoff run?
Actually, there's not. I think the Steelers is probably the most notable one out of this matchup.
Right.
It was Ryan Shazier,
right?
Who's obviously out for the season, so they're not getting him back, and that's a.
And Antonio Brown's coming back.
Antonio Brown's coming back, but that was definitely a big loss for him. It left a hole in the receiver room, but it got some of this rookie Juju Smith-Schuster get some of his catches out. But I definitely think that the holes are showing, and Ben Roethlisberger, like he's been playing great late in the season, so has Tom Brady. So it's definitely going to be looking positive for the playoffs, and they might look really good.
Yeah, and I mean, earlier when I referred to his style of play as that backyard football, that wasn't a derogatory. I mean, that's what gives us some of the more exciting plays in football and definitely the playoffs. And Roethlisberger is known for those things. Just sometimes when you take those chances, it's a high risk, high reward. It's also high risk, very high penalty.
That's what I like about Ben Roethlisberger is that he loves to take risks, and that's why he's had so many interceptions.
Hey, he's a gunslinger.
Yeah, I think this is his 14th interception of the year now.
Wow.
So like you can tell when someone, and he's been having a lot of interceptions in his career. Like every year, he's probably had over 10 interceptions.
I like in a way though. I respect that, especially from somebody that's time. It's proven over time what a high caliber quarterback he is that I look at those 14 interceptions and some people might be very critical of that, might say he's falling off. They might have something bad to say about it. Because when you just look at it on face value, it is negative. You don't want 14 interceptions. If you could have less than 14, you would. But what I appreciated about it is, a thrower's going to throw. Like that's what he does. He's going to throw an interception, but probably the people on the sideline and the people around him and him in his own head are saying, it doesn't mean I can't throw. It doesn't mean I shouldn't throw. I'm going to throw. Absolutely. Matter of fact, there's a solid argument to be made that he should have spiked that ball into the ground, but he didn't. He's like, no, I'm going back to throwing. Absolutely. So I respect that persistence, and I think that that's the kind of thing. Even though it's a loss, and even though it feels like a knock against him, it's still a dangerous thing when he doesn't care. Okay, maybe it's going to be an interception. Maybe it's not though, and I'm going to throw it. So I'd be a little scared of the Steelers heading into the playoffs.
Absolutely, and I think the thing that I respect more about Ben Roethlisberger, I would say, is that he threw an interception. He's going to go out and just do it again, and I think that other teams see that on film of Ben Roethlisberger, and they kind of respect it more because it'd be like, man, this guy feels unstoppable. Like, even if he throws an interception, even though we might pick him off a couple times, he's still just going to go out there and just keep on slinging it. And that's the good thing about Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady. That's what made the matchup so great. If someone turns the ball over, they're just going to keep on slinging it. It's a matchup that you got to watch all 4 quarters on your TV. It's not one of those games where you can turn it off halftime, third quarter. This is a game that you just keep watching. And
right,
that's what
it's made two Titans battling it out.
Absolutely. That's just made this rivalry so special, too.
Awesome. Well, I think that about wraps it up for our Week 15 of 2017.
Absolutely. It was a great week, too, of football.
And we will see everybody back next week when we discuss Week 16 and see what unfolds heading on into the playoffs. All right.
Absolutely. We got some big matchups. Ezekiel Elliott coming back from suspension. We got to see how the Eagles are going to rebound from barely beating the Giants. Barely.
The 2-10. Well, 2-11 now.
And we got Giants. Some other heavyweight matchups. We got the Falcons and Saints. So we have a lot to discuss next week, and we will see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.